You're plugged into Schaumburg Speaks, a podcast highlighting and celebrating local businesses and community in the Schaumburg area.
Hello and welcome to Schaumburg Speaks, where we're plugging into the business and community, brought to you by the Schaumburg Business Association and Ian Ryan Interactive. I'm your host, Andrea Bewer, the president of the SBA, and today I am beyond thrilled to have State Senator Laura Murphy, who will be sharing her insights on the Illinois budget, healthcare, and transportation in the state and how it's affecting Schaumburg. So before we start, for those listeners that don't know about State Senator Laura Murphy, she was born into a middle-class family in Park Ridge. Senator Murphy graduated from Illinois State University with a bachelor's degree in political science. Laura spent over 20 years as an active member of the Des Plaines community, including 8 years as an alderman for the city's 3rd Ward. She has over 2 decades of experience in healthcare and social services management as a member of the Illinois Liquor Control Commission. She worked to educate youth on alcohol and tobacco prevention. Murphy was appointed to the Illinois State Senate in 2015 to represent the 28th Senate District. That district neighbors O'Hare International Airport and includes all or parts of Des Plaines, Elk Grove, Hanover Park, Hoffman Estates, Mount Prospect, Niles, Park Ridge, Rolling Meadows, Roselle, and Schaumburg. In 2020, she was appointed Deputy Majority Leader of the Senate. Then in 2023, she was appointed Assistant Majority Leader. Senator Murphy, my friend, I'm so excited to work with you again, but in a new city, Schaumburg, and we are here sitting in it. We've worked together for over 8 years in Des Plaines, but I've known you for almost 15 and love what you do for the community and the businesses in the areas you represent. So how have you been?
Oh, I've been great, Andrea. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for staying in a job that keeps you in the 28th Senate District.
Well, don't thank me. I'm so lucky because I, again, get the opportunity of working with you and learning from you.
Well, I think that wherever you go, whatever community you're in, you just bring so much to that community. You add so much to the business community, their ability to communicate with you, to expand and to grow, and you just see potential and help people realize their potential. So that's such a great quality that you're bringing into Schaumburg. You brought that to Des Plaines, and you leave a trail, a really great trail wherever you've been. So I'm thrilled that you're going to be here back in Schaumburg, kind of where your roots are at, where your family started, where your mother built these organizations. So what a great testament to her, to yourself, to where you've come and all that you've accomplished.
Wow.
So best of luck in this new role.
Thank you. I'll need it, but I just appreciate those kind words. But again, I feel so blessed to have the opportunity to continue to work with you again. And as I mentioned earlier, to learn from you. So I've been blessed to have mentors like you and several others to help me become a better person and to help lead this organization. So thank you. You've been good. I know there's lots of changes going on in the world right now, to say the least. Can you share with our listeners how you got to where you are today, serving as the Assistant Majority Leader of the state of Illinois? It's crazy.
You know, it is. And it was a path I never thought I would have. But it just kind of happened. I was a poli-sci major in college, but never thought that I would be really in a political position. And I just started to get involved in my local community. And because of that involvement, and just because from a genuine desire to try and help better my community, maybe to, my upbringing said that you have to give back. Yeah. We are so fortunate. You have to do something in this world to give back. And this was a good way to give back. And also, when people see things that makes them angry and go, we have to make a change, that each individual person can be that change maker. So it's those ideas that kind of propelled me into getting involved in public service. And that's really what this all is. It's public service. It's about helping people resolve issues and solve problems. And then just being a good, genuine communicator, I think, is what helped propel me into the leadership role in the Senate. I
think there's a lot more other reasons, but you're very humble, but you're smart and amazing and have really, you're incredible.
Well, I think everyone has it within them. And you meet people along the way that are going to help you, that mentor you. And all you have to do is take a few minutes to listen to what they're saying and then, just try to do the best that you can. Yeah. And everybody has it within them to have, when you have that desire and you have that passion to follow through, we all can accomplish great things. And we're going to need people to step up. Those that maybe have been reluctant in the past, it's time now to step up. We need leadership in this country. And it starts with just in your local neighborhood, your local school district, just PTA mom. That's where all these things propel someone up to do and make very impactful changes in their community.
Yeah. And we're so fortunate in Schaumburg. We have a lot of those people that step up, volunteer, give back. And your advice is amazing. So for anybody listening, really listen to the words that Laura's saying.
You have great people in this community. I've had the opportunity to meet them over the past 10 years. They're absolutely wonderful and they do really good things. And you're in really good hands.
We are.
The whole Northwest suburbs, we're in a really good position.
Hardworking, nice people.
Yep. We value education. We value, middle-class values, and we want everybody to be successful. And we know as a community we can accomplish that.
Yeah, we sure can. Okay, so let's dive right into our topic by talking about the state's budget. The budget. I heard it's going to be tight this year. Can you tell me how you think that might affect the businesses in our area?
I think we are facing a significant time frame in our history here in Illinois. But we've been in these situations before. We are projected to have a little over a $3 billion deficit. And a lot of that coming in unanticipated revenue that may not have been as great in certain areas that we had anticipated. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to balance our budget because unlike the federal government that wants to raise their debt ceiling, we don't print money in the basement. We don't have trees in the back of the Capitol that, just bleed money. Our only source of revenue, of course, comes from taxes, fees, and from the federal government. So we're going to have to ensure that our expenditures do not surpass what kind of revenue we take in. The unfortunate unknown here, which can add to our difficulty, is we get a substantial amount of money, particularly in the healthcare arena, from the federal government. And with the new administration, we're uncertain as to what's going to happen with, for instance, our Medicaid rate. The new president has said he wants to eliminate Medicaid expansion. There's a lot of changes he wants to make in the healthcare arena. And Illinois is already a payer state, which means we pay more into the federal government than what we receive back in any tax revenue we receive.
Why is that?
Because rates are established based on the wealth of a state. And Illinois has been the fifth wealthiest state in the nation.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I know. So our people contribute more. We pay more into the federal government. So we only get about 51 cents on the dollar for every Medicaid dollar, where there's other states that are over $1. So if we're going to make change, how about some equity and parity in that?
Sure.
But our fear is that they're going to cut our rate even lower. And so therefore we won't be able to deliver the services that we currently are able to deliver. But the need is still going to be there for people to receive medical services. So what we have to do then is take money from our general revenue fund. That means you have to take money from somewhere else, another bucket, and
replace it.
Right. Well, we don't want to see money taken away from education. We don't want to see money taken away from transportation, because I'm sure we'll talk about the transportation cliff we're facing. Right. And there's most 90% of our expenditures, almost 90% of our expenditures are fixed. We're already have to contribute. Just like any household, you have a certain amount of money that automatically goes for your mortgage and your utilities and your car payment. The state also operates
the same way.
Similarly.
Right.
Exactly. So there's not a lot of
you
play.
You can't get a new job in the state because the state is staying here.
Right. So we're going to have to, when we did receive COVID money, we said to people, do not create new programs, because this is one-time money. This is one-time expenditure, one-time funding that we're going to have. So make it just for one-time expenditures. Do not make a payroll decision on this. Do not hire new staff. But people did. Right. So now they're going to want additional money too, and it's simply not going to be there. So some services are probably going to have to be evaluated. Right. And we're going to make really careful and deliberate decisions on all of our state expenditures.
Yeah, it's a tough
situation. But we will balance our budget. I have always said we will not balance the budgets on the back of the middle class. Right. So we're going to make sure that if we had our wealthiest top percentage paying their fair share into taxes, our budget situation would look a lot different. So we have to work at a better balance on that.
Okay. Oh, I wish you luck. I know it's
going to be a challenge.
Lots of discussions. So moving along to a different topic. We have limited time. I'm sure we could talk about budgets the whole time. I want to touch upon all the data centers that are going up in the area and in the surrounding communities. I understand that the availability of energy may become an issue with the enormous levels of these going up. Centers, what are the steps that the legislators take to ensure energy is available to the businesses, to the people that live in their areas?
So, with the onset of technology and AI, you can anticipate that the next step is that we have to find some way to store all this data that we're amassing. And so data centers were kind of all out in the Silicon Valley, and they started to move towards the Midwest. And we are the best place to hold these data centers because our climate is pretty consistent.
Cool. There's no floods per se.
Yep. And data loves cold locations, right? We don't have a lot of hurricanes. We don't have the fires. We don't have all those kinds of things. So it makes the Midwest. So we started to compete state by state for these data centers because while they are definitely energy hogs, they also contribute a significant amount to the local economy.
They sure do.
They are huge property taxpayers. They are huge if a community has a utility tax. They're really good payers. They create a lot of good union jobs in building the facilities. It doesn't take that much to operate them, but there's a lot that they contribute.
There's a lot of energy.
Yep, and they pay the property taxes, which funds our schools.
Yeah.
So you'll see our communities where everyone is kind of vying for the data centers right now. Elk Grove Village is the second largest community that has data centers in the nation, only second to Virginia. So they've really expanded out here.
It's okay. They could have them in Elk Grove. We'll take all the companies in Schaumburg and they could store our data.
Yep. So it can be a win-win. Yeah. Now we have to figure out though the energy part.
Right.
So we did pass several energy bills because we passed the CEJA, the Clean Energy Act, back in, I think it was 18. And so we set our goals of how we're going to get to clean energy. And then we have these new people that are coming in that are sucking up a lot of energy. Yeah, right. So we have to find a way to meet that needs. And we passed a bill. Sue Resin carried the bill to have mini nuclears, modular nuclears. So that's going to be a big
Something in the future.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that will come to help the energy needs. But we just passed a mini energy bill that helps a lot on storage, because when we have sunshine, we get a lot of sunshine.
Right.
But we have to find a way to store that for the days when we don't have a lot of sun, or we don't have a lot of
like the past
wind.
week.
Yep. So, we're working on that storage so that we can mine it out to areas that need it at that point in time. And the data centers themselves are finding ways to become more energy efficient as well. So combined with that, I think we're going to be able to meet the sources. But we will ensure that we monitor this very closely so that we are we have the energy capacity that we need.
Well, it's good to see that you guys are paying attention to that, and that's definitely one of the top priorities. So I know when I started here in October, in the month of November and December, we had to look at all of our healthcare plans and where the costs were going and all of that. Was not fun process, but we got through it. Employers, it seems like employers are paying more. Employees are unhappy because they're not getting the coverage that they used to get, years ago when all of our prescriptions were paid for. It seemed like in the average plan. Can legislators do anything to ensure that insurers are held accountable for these rising costs and for the things that the services that they're providing? Is there anything that you're working on in Springfield regarding this to help the companies and to help their employees?
Healthcare costs are a huge expenditure for businesses. And when we pass laws in Illinois, and we have passed several pieces of legislation that will limit prescription drugs costs, things like insulin, pens, all kinds of things like that. However, any law that we pass really only impacts less than 20% of the insurance companies that do business in Illinois, because anyone that is federally ERISA protected doesn't have to follow state laws. So all of our major corporations really don't have to abide by Illinois laws. They're based at a federal level.
Yeah, because you could get insurance from a different state and have it cover your employees here.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And employers have to shop around to find the most efficient. And you're right, nobody seems to like the whole situation that we're in. So what we can do, though, piecemeal, and usually if we set a law, the bigger corporations try to follow it. So we're trying to enact legislation that holds them more accountable. And we passed several pieces last session, and Senator Laura Fine is really a leader in finding the marketplace equivalencies and anything that helps keep cost in line, which is what we look for. Managed care companies are starting, they're all about cost containment.
Right.
So we've passed some legislation that manages the managed care company that says how much they can withhold, how long a period of time they have to have till they have to pay their providers, because often they're getting paid, but they're not then paying the provider. They're finding all kinds of ways to deny a claim. And I think there's nothing more aggravating to an insured person that knows they have insurance coverage and then their claims are denied for whatever reason, or they have to wait for authorization before they can have certain levels of care, and there's nothing more frustrating than that. So we try to pick away on how long you can take for authorization, what is coverage. We're doing a lot of work in parity for behavioral health, because so many of us are believers that if the mind
controls the body.
Yep. And if you have that healthy, the whole body is healthy, right? So that it's a continuum of care. Shouldn't be separated. We're going to have a big emphasis this year, though, on the pharmacy benefit managers. I think that we finally have had enough education and support to people that the pharmacy benefit managers are putting all of our small business pharmacies out of business because they can negotiate at such a greater rate for medication, and then the savings they can pass on. But a smaller business doesn't have that opportunity. So we're working on our PBMs too and hopefully there's several pieces of legislation that are addressing PBMs, and I think will go forth this General Assembly.
That's a cause near and dear, as my father owned 2 small drugstores in Chicago and went out of business when, of course, the larger companies came on.
Yep. And when you have
world.
some of the major corporations now that are saying, hey, the big guys, and you thought they were the big guy.
Yeah.
And they're even complaining about the whole process. So, ideally there's going to be a federal fix, but I don't foresee that coming quickly.
No.
So we'll just continue to chip away with state laws where we can impact. But I think it's always important for people to understand that if you are insured by a company that is ERISA, covered under ERISA laws, they do not have to meet state laws.
It's interesting. I hope everybody is hearing that and they do their research and understand that. Well, thank you for all that you're trying to do, for that. So switching gears, public transportation. This is a hot topic, especially in this area. What about Metra and its fiscal? Let me start that again because I had to turn the page. I know. So what about Metra and the fiscal cliff that we're hearing about? I know businesses in the suburbs need reliable transportation for their employees, especially with all the big companies that are moving to Schaumburg. Not everybody has cars. I know there's Ubers, but there's only so many Uber drivers out there to get employees to work. What is the plan for this virtual system? What's the plan for Metra? Give us some inside scoop on what you guys are working on regarding all of this.
So because of COVID, all of our transportation agencies, their business plans went through the window, right? They could not.
It changed.
Ridership changed. And every employer out there knows employment changed,
Hard to get drivers.
And the traditional 9 to 5, everybody come to work, that model has changed. And I think we're going to see a hybrid of, will people ever return to the office 5 days a week, 9 to 5? That's unknown. But right now we can adjust for a hybrid of that. Ridership is coming back up on certain days, but it's not
where it used to be.
Yep, not where it used to be. And it's not the 5 day a week model. Our transportation agencies are saying they're seeing 3 days a week with that, but it's, Mondays and Fridays, it's a little light. So their business models were based upon that type of ridership, and they have to change and adjust that. Like, that has to be done all over. Plus, we know that we had transportation needs that were unmet. We can go back to the days of Al Larson, who wanted to bring a CTA line all the way out here to Schaumburg, and it's still needed because employers out here, people, first off, businesses come to Illinois because we have a great educated workforce. But we need to find a way for that workforce to get to where the employment needs are.
We're building lots of apartment complexes, lots of things. So hopefully, eventually, if there's people from the city, they'll want to move here. But for now, we still have to get those people.
And we want to
here.
get people out of their cars. There's nothing, and anybody that drives the Kennedy in the morning.
It's awful.
And you look around and you go, there's only one person in every single car. If we could get those people out of their cars onto public transportation, but we have to make public transportation reliable, accessible, and safe, right?
Yeah.
So you have to know that a train is going to, if a train, a bus, or, a CTA car is going to be on time when it says, because you need to be on time to get to work. So those are the things that
That's the problem, but how are we going to?
And we're looking at all of our service boards. We have CTA, we have Metra, we have PACE, and we have the RTA. And so, we had in the Senate, we had meetings and we had hearings all summer long. We were all throughout the state where we had hearings, and we heard from everybody and what their transportation needs. But one common theme that we all felt is that we have to change the leadership and governance structure of the package. So several bills were introduced, and we're going to start with that and negotiate from there. But we can economize some scales. Everybody doesn't have to have their own procurement, their own HR. We can do some consolidation as that. But in my opinion, the CTA should know how to ride CTA.
Right.
And they're
That's
the
what they
best
do.
at that.
Right.
Metra is different. PACE is different. Everybody has different needs. So we need to have still that leadership at that level and then coincide with a major
Support
level.
them.
Now, we also, Illinois is one of the lowest states that provides the least amount of public dollars to the transportation entity. So we rely so much on fare structure to fund our transportation needs. And that just funds to a level that doesn't provide capital or expansion.
Right. It just
which
pays
is
for
the
gas or
day-to-day
whatever.
activity. Exactly. And so, and if we want to make it reliable, we have to have more current, recent cars, train cars and CTA cars and buses.
But where are we going to get the money from
Right.
with the budget?
Right.
So,
And so that's where our problem
Yeah.
comes. And
Yeah.
we may have to find a designated source for transportation. And there's a lot of activities of where, we have a motor fuel tax, and
Right.
if we can get more cars off the roads, there's a lot of buckets that we can look at this point in time. And so we've had a very concerted effort to review this. We took a group of about 30 people, legislators, labor unions, contractors for the CTA. So we all went to Munich to review the German public transportation system. Their population is approximately 9 million, similar to what we're at. And we have about 342,000 people that use public transportation. They have 1.5 million that use their public transportation
we need
on
to
a
figure
daily
out what
basis.
they're
Right.
doing right
Exactly.
and what we're doing wrong.
And it's because it's reliable, it's accessible, and it's safe. And so we can get those attributes in our environment. And for the record, we have to say, people go, oh, they don't have cars. Well, Germany has some of the best car manufacturers in the world.
Of course they do.
And they have 2.2
cars. They have nice cars.
Exactly.
Expensive
all
cars.
in their driveways. Right. So
Yeah.
that's not a factor. That's not what is causing people to ride public transportation. But when you make it value added, you're going to get to where you're going in half the amount of time. Then we can entice people to get involved in public transportation again.
What about the tolls? Kind of off topic,
Oh.
because I've heard certain cities that are doing certain prices at different times for the tolls. Do you think that is anything that has support just to get extra money or get people, off the roads? I guess we need the Metra, we need the trains and things to be here, I guess, for them to stop using their cars. But any thoughts on that?
From what I've seen of that model, and I know that New York just implemented that, and
I'm
it's
just curious.
I'm not a fan of what I've seen so far. It to me, it does not
Penalizes people.
Yes, and you want to encourage people to come down to the loop. If I were a business owner in the city of Chicago, and you want to impose a tax for people to come down to my
you want
restaurant,
people to feel safe. You want, some people still might not feel comfortable riding the train or doing things like that. They want to take their car. And it would affect parking your car.
Oh,
so
that tax would go on everything.
Yeah,
so I'm not a fan of using that as a source to find additional revenue. But there's real easy things we can do. If you get on a train and you don't have the barriers of the cars, we have short cars, right? If you have a longer car, and then you can see from one end to the other, and that creates an illusion of safety, and then people behave accordingly.
Right.
And no one wants to get on, let's say, a CTA car, and you're the only one on there, right? You go to another car, but if the car were longer, which is one of the things they had in Munich, much longer cars,
you're going to feel safer.
It just felt like a safer environment.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the state last year passed and awarded some of the chambers of commerce, and it's really switching gears kind of question, grants for their efforts and help during the pandemic, which was definitely needed. I know you and I worked together when I was at the different chamber at that time. I heard there's talk about continuing support, and I don't know if there still is, with the state, with the chambers of commerce, if they work with their city about possibly matching funds. Have you heard any talk? I'm just or any support on that, or was that one of the areas that was pandemic specific that will not be available anymore?
The money that the state was able to provide, because chambers and all the associations had to shut down too, just like every business. And you weren't eligible for PPP money.
No.
So that's where the grant programs came in to provide some parity, because the world shut down.
The world shut down, but we didn't.
Right.
Because we had to help the world and help give information. But now the world's changing. We're not shut down anymore. But the world has changed. So the ways of doing business are a little bit different now. So just curious if there's any talk
from the state level, that COVID money is all been expended and there is no more available. And I don't envision that we'll get any more. But local governments, we're seeing an increase in local government offering significant grant money for enticing businesses to come into the community, to remain in the community. We're saying, I introduced a bill, and I work with the Small Business Association. If you know Elliot Richardson.
I know him very well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Elliot and I have been working on this bill that says, okay, if we have any grant money, let's make sure half of that is allocated for small businesses.
Sure.
Because we can't always give it to the bigger corporations that tend to have more opportunity to apply for grant dollars. Let's make sure that there's parity there. So small businesses, being the backbone of our economy in Illinois, that they too would have some parity, and we'd be able to allocate 50% for all the small businesses. So if there is grant money available, we're going to try and push it out. For sure, we would push it out quickly, but we would try to have some parity in who is able to apply for that.
Well, that's great. And I know we're working very closely with the Village of Schaumburg and working to try and help the small businesses and medium size that are in this area. So that's great that the state is still looking and realizing the importance of attracting businesses here.
So I think some of the state policies we've seen over the past couple of years has provided additional funding for our local communities. We approved and licensed marijuana and cannabis organizations, and that revenue goes to the local community. We've implemented a law that requires now tax on internet purchases, and that feels down to the local community as well. So those are two huge sources of revenue that local communities did not have, and that will help them maybe provide additional funding for communities.
And this is so important that you're pointing that out, because I think the average people that are living in certain towns, they don't realize some of the support that the state is actually doing in their cities, and I think that's so important. So you're here today, and you were so supportive at the other chamber that I worked with, and here today supporting us. How was the partnership and, being a legislative official, a part of your local chambers of commerce, how has that helped the state? How has that helped you personally?
Well, it's been a huge asset for me, because it provides a wonderful forum for me to get to businesses, because you already have established a program where you have businesses come in, and I might not have access to those businesses.
Right.
So when you invite me for a breakfast or a lunch or just, the annual legislative updates, that gives me an opportunity to just meet businesses that I might not necessarily have an opportunity to do that. Plus, it gives your businesses an opportunity to meet up with us and also
feel like they have a voice.
Yep. And greater increase your voice for us too, so that we can, because it's all about communicating. 100%. When we find out what, these are the issues that we have to help resolve, and then try to find solutions for that. And not everything is about dollars. We can sometimes fix problems without having to throw money at it. That's not always the answer.
By getting the right people together. Yeah. And I know you were very instrumental in getting many different initiatives passed, and that I've had the experience of watching you do your magic and connecting people and really making an impact on that business community. And so the feeling is a two-way street, and we really appreciate to have access to someone like yourself and to our legislative officials.
Well, and if you join a chamber, you automatically just increased your
network.
Yes, and also your employee ability, right? Because now you're not going to hire everybody, but you can rely on you. in the Small Business Association to help them with those certain issues or connect them with a business that has already resolved that issue that they're going through. And so it just opens up the whole community to somebody when they become a member.
Yeah. So, okay, on that line, is there any piece of advice? Let's say that there is a new business joining the Schaumburg Business Association. What's the first thing you think they should do when they join an organization like this?
Well, I think they need to make themselves known.
Right.
They have to introduce themselves to you. It's
get
not
involved.
right.
Yeah.
It's not good enough to just come to a meeting and sit in the back of the room. They have to know who you are, because if you don't know what their needs are, how you might be thinking you're fixing everyone's issues, but they haven't made it known.
Right.
So people just have to talk to each other. Go back and
learn about versus going in there and trying to sell right away. No, you got to get to know the people that are in your area that your business is in,
right,
and help them, and then in turn they'll help you.
Yep, and it will create such a great network that it happens organically, and I think that's more sustainable. When relationships happen in that organic environment, they are sustainable.
That's when magic happens. So I know people listening are just adoring you like I do. How can our listeners contact you if they have any questions or if they'd like to share an opinion on something? How can they get in touch?
Sure. So I have a district office that's located in Des Plaines, and they can reach me at Laura@SenatorLauraMurphy.com. Or call 847-718-1110, or they can look at my Springfield office as well. But I want to also encourage people that as we're just starting the General Assembly cycle now, we're all introducing bills, and ILGA.gov, that is the website for the Illinois General Assembly. And every bill that gets introduced is up on that website. And if they have a comment, if they don't want to call my office, they can always file a witness slip on any bill that's out there. And they should use that as their Bible.
As an avenue to express your opinion, your voice. It is being read, it is being heard.
Before a bill gets passed, it goes through a committee. And in every committee meeting, the first thing we do is to report out on all those witness slips. How many are opposed, how many are against, or how many are neutral on a particular issue. And your voice is definitely heard that way. If you don't want to have personal contact, you can still file your comments via the ILGA.gov website.
That's great. Or honestly, they could go to the Schaumburg Business Association website. We've got your information in our guide and on online as well. So thank you, Senator Murphy. You are incredible, and I'm so appreciative of all your insights and passion for our area, for Schaumburg and the surrounding communities. This has really been wonderful, and you truly have helped making Schaumburg a better place to live and work in.
Well, thank you for having me. You are just a delight, Andrea, and you are going to just do great things out here. So for everybody in Schaumburg, hold on, because she is just a dynamo.
Well, you're sweet. And for our listeners that are tuning in to this episode of Schaumburg Speaks, thank you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a beat on the latest and greatest happenings in Schaumburg. And we'll be back with more incredible information from our local business, the community, and updates. So until next time, keep supporting local, stay engaged, and let's keep building a fantastic Schaumburg business community together. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.